Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I know Christmas was a while ago, but it's March 5th right now, and I think I'm just in the giving mood. I'm not quite sure why, but perhaps in celebration of all these new podcasts, Pseudo-Intellectuals Book Club, and Getting Fat, PHAT, with Caleb and Joe. Check them out on iTunes. I'm kind of in the mood to give another little show away. Now, this show never actually happened, and it may never happen. It was this idea for a just video games podcast. So a podcast that was just about all video games. It'd be like video game news and, reviews and all sorts of stuff. But basically we decided, not now. Now is not the time to do that. We need to focus on Ultima Final Fantasy and these other podcasts we got. We got Super Sexy Swinging Fanfiction, and now, of course, we have Getting Fat with Caleb and Joe, and the Pseudo-Intellectuals Book Club. All available on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, with that said, we did record a pilot episode for this podcast, and I kind of don't want it just sitting on my computer with no one ever listening to it, because, we gave it a good hour's work, and felt like, you guys, you Ultima Final Fantasy listeners, I think you guys probably deserve this the most, so please enjoy our failed video game podcast, and I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you guys on Monday.
The naked truth about gaming? What? Wait, who put this?
It was him. It was
just is that what you just put? The naked truth about gaming.
I thought it was funny.
It could be a tagline, yeah.
For the news, at least. Wow.
Get to the naked
It's
truth.
time for the naked truth.
Well, is it true?
No, that's the problem. We don't know. Some of them we don't know until it happens.
Some of them are rumors, so...
Yeah, so,
I thought we said no rumors. Are some of these rumors? Are you shitting me?
Nude Clan.
Yeah,
That's like,
Caleb.
dude, a lot of video game news.
Is
The whole
show.
video game show.
The whole, you're right.
The video game podcast show.
Yeah, you made a big deal about this last time.
Okay, everybody, welcome to Nude Clan video game show, where we talk about the naked truth about gaming. Gentlemen, my name is Joe. How about you guys introduce yourselves? Caleb?
I am Caleb Craig.
Caleb Schweiss.
And Dylan Rominger.
All right. So, some of you may know me and Caleb Schweiss here from another video game-related podcast. We are part of Ultima. We are Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy podcast.
Correct.
And we figured we'd do a whole show on video gaming, so we brought our friends in, and we're just going to talk about gaming news, things in the gaming industry, and of course, whatever we're going through currently, our video game progress.
Yeah.
In the second half of the show, we'll talk about that. First thing, of course, though, with any of these shows, we got to get to the news. Right, guys?
Always the news.
Let's go to the news.
Alright, so the first bit of news is that Activision, well, this is a rumor anyway, that Activision is interested in buying Take-Two Games, which owns...
Take-Two games?
Yes,
I thought it was 2K games.
No, Take-Two owns 2K.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they own several gaming companies like Rockstar, which makes the Grand Theft Auto games, and 2K, which makes BioShock and Dishonored. Well, not Dishonored. It was,
Borderlands.
Borderlands, that's right. Yes. And if they do end up taking over, they would probably make movies out of these games, and they would end up bastardizing our favorite games
You think
because...
so?
I do think so, because Activision has a history for making all of their popular games shit by bringing out them every year. Like look
Like
at
Tony
the
Hawk Pro Skater.
like Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Like Guitar
That's the
Hero.
that's the beginning the Activision logo that I remember the most.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
It's
this
turning
like
on Tony Hawk Pro Skater
yeah,
2.
it's also on.
a good game.
They also own not the Modern Warfare game. Well, they do own that, but they own the Call of Duty games, which they have
Okay.
pumped out every year.
That's true.
So
They've consistently been pretty good shooter games.
well,
That depends on who you ask.
I guess.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dylan? I mean,
I am not a fan of Call of Duty.
you're not a fan of Call of
Not a
Duty?
fan.
Not a fan of Activision?
Not a fan of repetitive video games.
Yeah. I could see that. I don't know. COD is okay, but I don't know.
We played COD
It's
plenty
too,
of times.
yeah, well, we play the multiplayer.
we all enjoy Call of Duty and everything,
Well,
but
We're talking
every,
single player. Single
well,
players are crap.
Well,
Single player is
single
unfulfilled.
players are always lesser
Some of them are
in
okay.
a
I
lot
really
of
enjoyed Modern Warfare
first-person
4.
shooters. Well, yeah, that was
Or
Or
the
not
one.
Modern Warfare 4, but
Modern Warfare.
Call of Duty 4.
Yeah, I like
Modern
that
Warfare.
Modern Warfare.
That
Modern
one was
Warfare
good.
2 is a good campaign. So is Black Ops.
Right. They were going to come out with Call of Duty 5. Or are they just going to keep going with Modern Warfare or whatever?
They'll probably go with Modern Warfare. I
Well,
think.
it's Advanced Warfare is the newest COD that's coming out.
Oh, okay.
The one with Kevin Spacey.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's
I
pretty
saw that.
interesting.
It was pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, that one actually might have a really good story because they were talking about how they wanted to bring the story modes more to be more prominent. Than
They've been
just the
saying
Call
that
of
for a
Duty.
while.
Yeah, but they've always failed, and
I think, well, if this rumor or this thing actually turns out to be the case, if Activision actually does buy Take-Two games. It's Take-Two, right?
yes, it's take.
Okay, because I have 2K on my paper here. If they actually do buy Take-Two games, maybe the gaming company will probably stay intact,
Well,
yeah. and they're probably not going to have that much creative. Well, they will have creative control because they have the money, but
Yeah,
how much power will they really use? I
Yeah.
mean, against them.
well,
I think they're there for the financial support of
the-
Take-Two.
I don't
Well,
know
the
if they need
reason-
it, though. Looking at the cost of Grand Theft Auto 5, that's a lot of money.
That's true.
Take-Two has the money. That's why I think this is a bullshit rumor.
Well, the other thing with Activision is that they have lent Call of Duty to other video game companies. Like they made Treyarch do the Black Ops series and World at War, and then they had not Activision, Infinity Ward do the Modern Warfare. So they would
Treyarch is the one that no one likes. Right?
No,
Well-
Treyarch's actually better.
is
Infinity
it?
Ward. Infinity
Yeah.
Ward.
I'm
Invented,
sorry, I don't know my Call of Duty.
Okay,
Infinity Ward invented Call of Duty.
Yeah,
and
Activision
they
is
are
just the
also
publisher.
ones. Yeah,
they didn't make the game.
well, Activision is also the one that split them up and made those two
Right.
companies do both those
The way-
things.
the way you were
and they
talking
did
about
that to make it so that they pump out a Call of Duty every year.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that they would do something similar to that with like Grand Theft Auto or like Borderlands.
Yeah,
and-
GTA every year probably wouldn't be good.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
would-
for
the-
such large, big scale sandbox games.
Yeah,
They
they
gotta
take
take a-
time.
Yeah, they got to take time. Otherwise, it's gonna be. Otherwise, it's
That-
likely to be a shabby product.
Yeah, that, and if they do end up doing a thing where they split them off or make another company like make a video game of that sort, and just to pump it out every year. So like they work on it for 2 years and then pump it out. So
Then again, Activision would give them more resources. They could have bigger teams. They could have separate teams working on separate games in the same
Right.
series.
Yeah, we'd like to think that would be the case, but what about the Rare situation with Microsoft?
oh yeah,
That always rubbed me the wrong way.
Could you explain that?
When Rare was purchased by Microsoft, they put out a few games. They had somewhat creative control over their products, but over time they eventually lost the creative
Rights.
rights.
yeah. Okay. Basically, Microsoft screwed them in the ass and said, "You do what we do. We do what you do. What we
Bill
want
Gates
now."
is just like,
Yeah, and a lot of their top employees left to work on other projects.
oh, that's too bad. Okay, so what else we got today? I heard there was a DDoS attack
Yeah, it was a
on Steam.
Well, it wasn't on Steam. It was mostly on
Okay.
PSN. It was a denial of service attack, which is when a bunch of people just try to simultaneously log in to something at the same time, and it just won't let them.
So that's the one I read this. I read this book on Anonymous, and that's the one where they, where some people have them download, like certain people download bad files.
Yeah.
And then when they want to, they can take that computer's signal and have it hit that certain server, right?
Yeah, over and over again.
When they want to, right?
So it could be coming from our computers, and we wouldn't even know.
Right. And our internet would just be really crappy at the moment.
Yeah.
That's what they said. In the book I read, Anonymous, fucking I can't remember the full title of the book. They talked about how they would use that attack, and they would often, like, this one guy would have like 2,000 or something computers that he would control over, and then he would know, like, right, if he would have a certain amount of time before someone just restarts their computer or restarts their router, and he would stop that attack for a little while and then go back to it. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And a lot of times what they'll do is they'll make the companies, or they'll try to make the companies pay to stop doing it because it's disrupting their service.
Really?
They're losing money.
Yeah, they did that with PSN, like most of their games, and a game called Path of Exile, which is a free-to-play game, so it didn't really do much to them, I suppose, but overall it really hurt PSN.
Okay. And then we have something called the Amiibo.
Amiibo is like the Nintendo Skylanders toys. So basically, you have the Wii U pad, and then you set the little figure on the pad, and it scans it into a game. And Nintendo got that idea from Activision's Skylanders toys.
Okay.
And Disney also did that.
When are they coming out with these?
They just barely announced the pre-orders
Oh,
for
okay.
the characters.
Are they so like Link and Mario and crap like
Link,
that?
Mario.
Yeah, they're going to be used in a wide array of Nintendo games, like Smash Bros. You can, like, have your amiibo be trained and have him be, like, a secondary player for you, and you can even make them so bullshit, apparently, that your friends can't even beat this computer player of your statue toy that you have.
Nice.
They-
Train
yeah,
him that much.
Yeah, if you train them that much, and the best way to train them, apparently, is to battle them online with other people using amiibos.
That kind of reminds me of my NCAA football days. I was obsessed with
NAACP football days.
No. I was obsessed with NCAA football like 03 back in the day, and I was kind of cheap with it. For a while I was like super cheap, and I made this team that was just juggernaut stats, right? Like it was A+, the offense was sick, the defense was sick, everything was godly. And then I felt bad about doing it because I was just slaughtering every other team, and I went and made another team and kind of worked my way up the natural way, but I didn't ever delete that juggernaut team, so like they were always there, and they were like fucking shit up, and I couldn't beat them. Like they were better than me. I created this monster, and like I couldn't take it on.
It's like Godzilla.
Yeah.
Just in a basketball team form.
Well, football, but yeah.
Oh, football. Excuse me. NCAA.
NCAA
I'm
is just
fucking
college.
retarded, is what I am.
National.
By the way, guys.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a new Smash Bros. Character. Who is this guy, guys?
Shulk. Xenoblade Chronicles.
Shulk from
No idea.
Xenoblade.
Yeah, it's
Xenoblades, is that a square?
I don't think so.
It was.
Oh,
It was. It was.
I'm thinking Xenogears. Okay.
It was a game that was exclusively in
That's
Japan
right.
for a long time until they finally ported over to the Wii because enough people wanted it.
Project Rainfall.
Yeah. And it's not just Shulk. There's a whole list of apparently leaked roster people, and some of it just sounds bullshit to me, like the dog from Duck Hunt. I mean, who the fuck wants to play?
Are
as
you
the
kidding?
dog
That's
from Duck
that's
Hunt?
fucking awesome.
That sounds
No,
awesome.
that's fucking stupid. Like, why?
It's a classic.
It's not a classic. Fucking hardly anybody would know who that is
Dude,
anymore.
you should just be the hunter off of Duck Hunt.
Yeah, just like a faceless
You never
man.
see him though.
Yeah, you never see that.
No,
hunter.
he'd be a me character, right? With like the Duck Hunt gun. I think that'd be sweet. And his like special power up move. What do you call those?
He's like old.
This is the final smash.
Final smash.
Would be a
Okay.
dog.
His final smash would use the dog to go like pick up the characters, and they'd be all limp,
Yeah,
like
that
a
would be
bird.
pretty sweet, actually.
Why am I not working on Nintendo, guys? Come on.
It's terrible.
I think it's awesome. Do we have any information on the other characters that were leaked, or
Yeah.
Some of the other characters, I think, were just like characters that have
Regular
appeared
characters?
before, but they weren't confirmed. Like Dr. Mario is making a reappearance apparently. Mr. Game & Watch, Rob, who I heard was they were gonna take out, and
Mr. Gay Man Watch?
yeah. Do you remember some of the other ones?
to watch
Dylan?
Bowser Jr.
Oh yeah,
They actually
Bowser
had a
Jr.
video of
That's,
Bowser Jr.
that's really strange.
And they took that video
They
down.
took
I'm
it down off
guessing.
of YouTube.
God damn Nintendo. Isn't it that good publicity for them? Why would they take away publicity?
Because it's leaked footage of a game that's not released yet. No surprises. It just kind of pisses them off. It's probably an employee. That's why they're.
See, the surprise would be later when they got the leaked footage, but then they put something even more. That would be a surprise.
They could do that, yeah.
Well, they'd eventually announce these characters anyway.
Yeah.
It just kind of takes some.
Maybe if I were them, I would just like not even put those characters in the game. Nope. They were there, but now they're not. Just to create this rift in the trust.
Well,
of
if it's an employee who leaks it, why would they punish the fans like that?
I don't know.
See, I disagree with you completely on that.
It's not really punishing the fans. How is it punishing them? They're like taking down a video of leaked footage.
No. You just said that.
Oh, to take the characters.
To take the characters out. Yeah.
Well, how would they know? How would we even know? What if it was like that leak was just total bullshit? They could just say that. Like, why would we put the Duck Hunt dog in that? That'd be stupid.
It would be.
I think the Duck Hunt dog
so.
is a fantastic
I
idea
think
for a
it's
game
stupid.
that I don't play.
Yeah, I think it'd be alright. I mean, they've already got a lot of weird shit.
It's
Well,
definitely unique.
Oh, I don't think they could announce anything more that would surprise me more than already having Mega Man and Sonic and Pac-Man, which is pretty freaking sweet.
Right.
Also, another bit of news is Phil Fish is looking to sell his company. I know Joe really likes that guy's name.
Well, he told me this was the news thing, and for the show, I wrote down like little lines, so that we can get through the news in an orderly fashion. I put Phil Fish, and I spelled it FILL FISH. And I was made fun of. So, yeah, Phil Fish is spelled with a PH, I'm guessing.
Yes, it's PH.
Okay, so explain the Phil Fish
Okay,
situation
so
here.
anyway, there's like a bunch of controversy around that guy right now, and if
Controversy?
yeah. And in case you didn't know who this guy is, he's the guy who made the Fez game. It's kind of like a 2D side-scroller game where you can change the perspective, so it kind of like flips around.
Mm-hmm.
And
He was featured in that indie gamer documentary.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah,
over
it was-
Netflix, right?
Yeah, it was a good one. Anyway, yeah, there's some problems going on with him and threats being made. So he says that he wants to get out of the gaming company now because of all these threats and
The
things
gaming
going
company
on.
or the gaming industry?
Well, the gaming industry and his company. That's why he's looking to sell.
What a dick.
What a
He was
puss.
a dick on the documentary because he was like, "It's gonna come out when it comes out." He's just like a piece of shit about it.
Yeah, like it's some.
Did you
godly,
see that documentary? Okay.
Like it's some godly thing that we're super hyped about. It's just it'll come out when it's ready. Well, no one's gonna
that's a
care.
fine thing. Was he the only one working on that game?
Yeah, he was.
Wow.
At the time, he was the only one working on that game. So it was one person making this huge game, and
His whole attitude through that whole thing.
well,
was
I don't know because he
douchey.
did have like a lot of people like being like, when's it coming out?" He's like one guy working on a huge indie game.
Maybe he shouldn't have
and-
announced it then if he wasn't ready for it to be coming out soon.
Well, there was
If you know how much work you've got left and you know you're nowhere near it, people
well,
are gonna start
there
expecting
was
it.
problems where he had to like restart a few times.
Yeah, apparently he
And,
redid the whole game a couple times. I remember that in the documentary.
Yeah,
And talking about it, but still, his whole attitude for people that were playing his game,
yeah,
his fans,
yeah. I guess.
was despicable. I think it was a despicable attitude towards people who love your product and
Yeah.
just want more of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not ready to finish the thing, I wouldn't even talk about it. You know, or at least tell them that it's early in development while they're playing it, so they're not like freaking out. It's the same.
So we got a new model of the 3DS. What do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so basically it's a CPU upgrade. That's pretty much all that we know about it so far.
Wasn't there like a new stick or something? That's what I saw in a headline. There was like a new analog stick.
But in order to play Xenoblade Chronicles, you have to have the same 3DS.
Oh,
no,
really?
that's dumb.
You can't play it with the current models of the 3DS or the 2DS.
What the fuck?
They're trying to recover from the Wii U. They gotta make money from
Has
something.
Wii U not made its money yet?
No,
No?
not yet.
I'm surprised.
It might make more money when more of the games come out, like a Legend of Zelda game or
yeah.
Smash Bros. Smash Bros. Will probably definitely.
Yeah, but it had Mario Kart. That's usually a huge one.
It was pretty big.
It is a big one, but it's not big enough by itself to sell a system. That's just one game, and people look.
We're gonna have to look into the numbers on that one.
It's usually the biggest game on the console.
We know
Usually, yeah.
The most
we know 2 people that have.
I know 3.
Do you
I know 3, yeah.
Who else has?
My other friend Dylan, not this Dylan.
What's with the Dylans?
What's with the Dylans and what's with the Kalebs? We have 2 Kalebs at this table, so shut up about what's with the Dylans.
Hey,
Only one Joe.
I was saying what's with the Nintendo Dylans?
Only one Joe, and I think
We'll
my
find
name is
another
more
Joe.
common.
Right, but
We'll start looking for another Joe.
yeah, someone who's played more games.
Fuck you, man. I played the entirety of the Final Fantasy series.
No,
That's
not
quite
the
a few.
spin-offs.
Okay, not the spin-offs.
Main
you're right.
lines.
Mainline Final Fantasies.
That's still impressive.
So The Sims 4 is coming out in 2 days, on Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
They're recording this on a Sunday.
Anybody excited for that?
I kind of am. I saw like a video of it, and I kind of wanted to see if, because they were like, oh well, you can do all sorts of things with their stories and stuff, and I was like, well, what if I was able to take this guy and just make him a serial killer? I just want to like see if I can do that
Maybe that would be an option.
with the new possibilities in Sims 4. I just kind of want to see if I can make my guy go down like a dark alley, just like knock somebody out and bring him back to his place where there's like a crazy sex dungeon in the basement.
You know, just I guess the games are for you to play out your fantasies. Personally, I find that a little disturbing. I
his.
only ever played the first 2 Sims games, so Sim 1 and then Sims 2. And I really, really enjoyed them, but I never played 3. Did anybody here play 3?
I didn't.
I haven't either.
No,
played
none of us
Sims
have played Sims 3.
I've played Sims and Sims Unleashed a shitload.
Yeah.
I've only played Sims.
SimCity's not the Sims, Dylan.
It's similar.
It's Sim.
Similar.
Euler, yes. Okay, so we got Mario Kart 8 DLC, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's up with the new DLC, Dylan? You're the Nintendo guy.
So, new DLC for Mario Kart 8 with Link, Animal Crossing character, and Dry Bowser. Also, with 2 new cups. So, a total of 8 new tracks.
That's awesome. I remember when the game came out, I made some kind of like complaint. I was like, God, they need to have more maps for these things.
It's true.
Like they should you should be able to like download all of the old maps.
That'd be sweet, yeah.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome, and Nintendo has the resources, and they would make money off of
Future
it.
DLC.
I know, future DLC. They should have done that on launch though. Should have been like, well, you have these. Of course, then we'd all be pissed.
Yeah,
They're like,
that-
they have all the maps.
It doesn't sit well with gamers.
Yeah.
But it is something that would make the company money. I mean, if they put out whatever, how many tracks do they have? 16 or something like that. 32. Whoa, more than usual. They have the 32 tracks, but then you can download, the others, whatever, how many tracks were in the previous games. I think that'd be sweet.
That would be.
Or maybe
That
they
would
just
be a lot
if
of
they just had a new game with 16 brand new tracks, and then you have to go and download the old games, or download the old tracks.
I don't know if I like that.
No one would like it. I'm just saying it would be smart for the company to do
Yeah, financially.
financially. Yeah, my old capitalist ways. And then we have a movie coming out for certain games, like that.
It's a Dead Rising movie. It's also a rumor, but
It's a rumor.
It is a rumor, but it's probably going to happen considering everybody likes to make video game movies,
No
or at
one
least
likes to make video game
they
movies.
announce
Are
them
you
a lot.
kidding me?
Yeah, they get canceled like crazy.
It most likely will get canceled because they announced like a
I don't think Hollywood
Uncharted
likes making video game
movie.
movies. I think the video game companies like the idea of them making video game movies.
Well,
Video game movies have never been profitable, with the exception of the Tomb Raider films,
which is sad.
because they had star power. But even Max Payne, what did that have? Mark Wahlberg in it. Max Payne, I think it was Mark Wahlberg. It was either that or the other guy I mix up with Mark Wahlberg all the time. That they have all
Matt
been
Damon?
Matt Damon. They've all been flops.
They're like the same person.
They've consistently been flops. I know we talked about movies earlier today. Video game movies. When your prime video game movie is Tomb Raider, which is a B movie,
at best.
like that's probably the greatest video game movie of all time.
So far,
And
yeah.
it's not that great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun, but that's about it.
The second one's horrible. But
I've never seen the second one.
man, it's bad.
yeah, it's
It's pretty bad, but yeah, they've all been flops. Max Payne didn't make any money. Mario was a famous flop.
I don't even know the Mario movie. I
Dude,
saw it and I didn't see the movie, but I saw
it is worth
that it existed.
experiencing because it is so shit-tastic that it is hilarious.
Okay.
Wow.
Like, you know that the Goombas are like tiny mushroom
Yeah, I
looking
know what they
guys? Well, in that movie, they're just gigantic, tall dinosaur guys with immensely tiny heads. So it's like a huge difference, and it's just really bad.
We talked about this on our other show, the Final Fantasy movie. I think it lost $90-something million or something like that. A little less than that, I think, but
A little less.
it was. I think it's still like the 7th biggest flop of all time.
Yeah. That's sick.
I don't. You're saying they love to make these video game movies. They don't. They don't love to make these video game movies because no one wants to put up the money, and that's why you don't see that many video game movies because they
get stalled.
they see the previous releases of video game movies and they go, I'm not investing in that.
Well, they always announce them, which is probably like a really bad idea.
Probably. The Last of Us movie might do well. Are they still doing that?
From what I know, they are.
Okay.
See, and with me, the idea of a video game movie is kind of a lose-lose, where if it's a good enough story, the game already had the story in it, right? So
Right.
why is there a movie? And if it's for the people that didn't play the game, why would they watch the movie? If you didn't care to play the game, why would you go see the movie? Like, what? Why?
That might be a problem with the audience.
Yeah,
Doom was a huge.
Yeah, it's crappy. I mean, there's some cool stuff where the guy turns into the Pinky dude, but that's it, you know?
I remember that one scene where it like turns into like the first person shooter view,
Oh, yeah.
and like it was like kind of should just play the game
Yeah.
at that point. However, they used that exact same like shot thing for End of Watch, and it was awesome. You remember End of Watch?
I do.
There was like parts near the end where they were like trying to escape from these gangsters or whatever, these gangbangers, and like suddenly the camera was like looking like a first person shooter, and that sequence was fucking sweet. For some odd reason it didn't work in Doom. But in End of Watch, oh man.
Huh.
It was awesome, and then it was really sad.
Interesting. So we've got one more piece of news. Apparently Australia as a whole is suing Steam.
Yeah, they're suing Steam because they claim that there was a breach of Australian law which entitles every Australian to a refund for any purchase of some kind. And Steam has a policy where they don't give out refunds for any reason.
Right. It is a pain in the ass to get your money back through Steam. Like,
yeah,
it is
they are a heavy.
It's their own
follower.
games that they don't allow any refunds for, right?
It's all games that they sell on Steam.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's,
including games that don't fucking work, which is why Australia is pissed off.
Well, I think most of what they're talking about for Australia is the early access games, which when you buy an early access game off of Steam, you really should know what you're getting into because they claim and they have a warning at the beginning of those games or before you even buy them that says they are not finished yet and you should be aware of what you're getting.
Which is why to US law, totally okay.
Yeah,
Because they gave some precedent warning of how the experience is going to be.
Steam is a religious follower of the buyers beware thing.
Right,
so.
but at the same time, the guys who are making Rust, they haven't done very much, right? They've been upgrading some stuff, but they've actually talked about not
you guys
even wanting
have gotten your money's worth out of that game.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not saying I haven't, but the fact that they said that they're going to finish this game, and they were talking about maybe not finishing it, like it was
they didn't say that. They said that they were gonna have to like remake it entirely.
Well, they weren't actually planning on making it what it's become. It wasn't supposed to be this huge game, and it got a lot of funding, and
that's exactly why they have to remake it is because there's a lot of people who want it to the reason they have it as early access is because they wanted the gamers to tell them what they wanted in the game.
Right, but they don't have to finish it.
And the reason why it became so big is because they were like, oh, well, there's a lot of people who want it, so that's why they have to remake it.
That's entirely. An issue, though, because they weren't actually planning on making this game what it's going to become. And all these people are throwing all this money into it, and then suddenly they have all this money, and they're like, okay. And they're working on it. I mean, obviously I'm not saying it's a bad game or that I haven't got my money's worth out of it.
Because you have played that thing for hours.
But I'm just saying that they need to finish the thing, or I'm going to be kind of upset for buying an early access game that's going to be a dead end.
True. But
I don't think it will be.
Would you be upset at Steam?
No. I think Steam should...
Or Valve?
I think Steam should be... Since they are the distributor, they should be more careful with what products they sell.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they should crack down on...
That should just be something for the company. I don't think they should be sued for it.
No, I don't
Steam is, though, because they have that green light thing, which is where the people on Steam vote for games that they would buy.
Right.
And and Steam gets most of their games from that. They bring on games that people have voted that they would pay for onto Steam.
But it's
that's why they have that.
Because of that,
everybody wants games that they have listed, so it's not really Steam's fault
but
if somebody else decides that that's not what they want.
It's Steam's responsibility to make sure that they are selling a good game. If we ask for the game, Steam needs to make sure that these companies are going to give us a good product. They can't just sell us whatever. I mean, they can. Obviously,
they can
in the
sell
US.
us whatever.
They can, but I can see where Australia's coming from.
I can see where Australia's coming from. I don't agree with it.
Really? I don't either.
I don't agree with this at all. I don't think we're entitled to a refund. I think that's ridiculous, especially when we know what we're getting into. We're the ones who decide to make the purchase.
Right.
We're even the ones who decide what to put on Steam. So if you're willing to pay for it, you might as well.
I think that's a stupid ass law.
I think that.
Sorry, Australia.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Australia because I think that Steam should have a responsibility to their consumers to not just let whatever go out onto the market. They should make it a game that they know is. I mean, it doesn't have to be a good game. There's shitty games. There's games that people hate that I like.
But are we just talking about early access or just like what they have overall?
Total games overall.
I haven't really encountered any games that were...
It would be a serious loss to that company if you could have a refund on any game that you wanted. Like, honestly, you could play a whole fucking game and then say, oh, I want a refund.
It would have to be within a certain time. The game,
like what, you only played the game for 15 minutes?
No, I don't think that should be allowed. If there's major problems, if there's a major problem with the game that causes you to not be able to play the fucking thing.
But what constitutes a major problem? There's no way of defining that.
There is. There are games on Steam that don't work.
There's not a way of defining.
Yeah, there is. If the
I
game doesn't
completely
launch,
disagree.
How do you disagree?
It's not like you're being poisoned by the game. No. I mean, if someone poisons you at a restaurant, yes, you can take out a lawsuit against them.
Not saying...
But if someone gives you a shabby product that doesn't work, let's say you bought a ladder and it sucks ass and it doesn't work and you had 30 days to return it or else, you shouldn't have to return it or else after those 30 days. You shouldn't have an ability to do that because made the stupid consumer decision of not doing your research behind it. I don't see any problem with their decision to that. When you have a broken game, what constitutes as a broken game?
Okay,
what
Joe,
physical piece of code would give you like,
Since you don't know
this
anything
game
about
is
video
obviously
games,
broken.
no, there are games on Steam that like can't play, that don't play.
Like it won't start.
Yeah, it won't start. It doesn't run, and they still sell them. That's where the issue comes in: is you can't get your money back, and they have broken games that they know are broken, but they don't force the
What if
publisher to fix.
What if someone decides that a game is broken just because their computer can't handle it?
That doesn't count. If your computer
How do you
sucks,
know that doesn't count?
Because other people play the game. Everyone downloads the same client of the game. Everyone can't play certain games. They just don't work. That's what I'm talking about.
Steam keeps those games up.
There are games up that don't function. Like for a while with Rust, there were some serious issues that the game wouldn't even work.
Well, Rust is an early access game.
It is, right. And that's where I'm totally fine with you putting in the money because you know what you're buying.
I think there's a problem with Steam giving a refund in general is because there's a lot of games that they sell for like on sale. Like say you bought a game for like $5 when it was normally like a $20 game. Are you entitled to a $20 refund? Because that they wouldn't remember if you bought it on the sale or
I'm
whatever.
sure they would have transaction history, but
There would be a
no.
receipt.
Honestly,
Yeah,
overall,
well,
I agree
still
with
they would-
Joe. I don't think you should be allowed to get a refund just because you didn't like the game. If the game doesn't work, then yeah, I don't think it should be up.
As a game that doesn't work.
A game that
they'd
no one
have
can
to-
play.
A
game that has a
Well,
serious-
let's say the game starts and then you go 3 hours into the game and there's a wall and then there's a path you can't cross. Is that a broken game? Like a path
if
you can't
you-
cross because of bad coding.
If
Well,
if it's bad coding,
That would be a broken
It would-
game.
It would probably.
They should be.
It would
They should, have
eventually.
to, they should have to patch.
I don't
it.
think it'd be a
Well, then there would be a
broken
patch. That's the thing.
They
You
should
can
make it-
People
always-
just wouldn't buy the game.
Not necessarily. They still
That's-
advertise games.
That's
I
what
mean,
keeps
they
the
still
game
advertise
safe. Is
games,
that they
but then they
review
also-
it and they
Yeah, there's also
people know when
they
it's
don't
broken.
review it immediately.
Do they
There's
review
also-
green lighted games?
No,
Yes, they do. They're
Not
on
immediately,
the
though.
on the Greenlight games. There is a lot of comments and reviews about the game,
Right,
and
but
you
a
can
lot of them
always
are
check it. And you
publishers.
can always check it out on the websites.
I don't
'cause
think
they-
it's Steam's problem.
Is it the full game that they show you?
I don't know.
It's the problem with the
half of
actual
them are,
company for giving a
early
crappy
access,
product.
Half of them are
I don't think
games.
it's Steam's job to refund it.
no, but I think Steam should make that company refund it.
I think
Steam, as the seller, should say, "Look, you're the supplier. What are you giving me? Like this game doesn't actually work.
Steam should
There's
just
bad
take.
code."
Does Steam take down the bad game?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think there's. I mean, they might. I'm
That's
not
something
sure
we
of
obviously
every
have to
game.
research.
I'm sure.
I'm sure they would take down
I
a
think
bad
they would
game.
do
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah,
I would
they'd probably
imagine.
take it down if there's enough people who
Right.
run into problems.
I can see
Certainly,
that.
at that point, it would be good for Steam to give you a refund.
Yeah, they don't have to though.
I don't think they should have a legal precedent to do that. I think this is a fucking stupid law.
Yeah, I don't
Every
know.
consumer's. If I don't like a certain apple in Australia, can I just be like, well, I ate half this apple.
Yeah,
I don't
see.
like it. Give me a refund.
Yeah, see,
And
that's
they would be
bullshit.
entitled to that refund.
You're entitled. Yeah, you're
Because-
you're
they're-
entitled to a refund. I'm gonna give you this refund.
Well, you know, in the United States, a lot of companies do that anyway. Like, there's always with Walmart, it's 100%
Yeah, I
satisfaction,
understand,
but they
and
choose
that's a company choice
Yeah,
to satisfy their customers who are stealing from them.
And you know,
in the case of
yeah,
Walmart,
no shit.
Yeah, that's a company choice. I don't think Steam should be legally obligated to do that, and besides, it's an American company.
Yeah. Well, they have to if they're going to be in international territory, they have to abide by their laws.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
But it's an
Well-
internet thing. I don't know how that works.
I think the internet should be completely free, so I'm with Steam on this. I think the internet should be. Totally
It sounds like
unregulated.
your mind has changed.
Yeah,
No,
you're
my mind
kinda-
hasn't changed. I see where they're coming from. That's all I said. I can see where Steam has a responsibility to tell the publisher, you need to give us something back for these people because your product is a piece of shit. Steam shouldn't have to give their money to the people, but I think Steam should have the responsibility to go to the publisher and say, this isn't working. That's why I agree with it, but I don't agree with it being Steam necessarily. I think Steam should be the ones that go in and say, you guys need to get this fixed.
Yeah, Steam should have a certain amount of quality control. Certainly.
Yeah. But I don't think it's Steam's fault because they're just selling it. They're just the seller.
As far as Steam games go, I mean, Valve games. I mean, how many of those are really busted up?
None, yeah. Valve makes good shit. So
I mean, and I still think there's no way to constitute a broken game. Because what if they're like, well, we never meant you to pass that wall on that path that was badly coded.
maybe. I don't know.
There's no way to like prove that they gave you a shabby product. It's all zeros and ones. It's different than
Well, a lot of games.
Something else. I mean, it's a
patch
game, so
like a lot.
such a
so-
broad spectrum of shit.
Yeah, I don't know. There's stuff that just doesn't.
All right. Does anybody else have any news, or is that those are our big headlines we're going through this week, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's it.
All right. So let's get over to our second half of our show, where we just talk about what games we're playing currently. Dylan, what are you playing?
Right now, I am actually not playing anything.
You're not playing anything. I am really fucking surprised.
I am looking for a game to play.
You're looking for a game to play? Well, we're about to play Final Fantasy VI
Yeah.
for our podcast. You should play along with us. Of course, you already beat the game. So have I. We, of course, have to redo those for the Final Fantasy podcast. What was the last game that you beat? Or played?
I think it was Majora's Mask.
Majora's Mask? How many times have you played?
Ago.
That's the first time I
What?
all the way through.
Oh.
I played the game previously.
No, I've seen you guys playing Pokemon. That's bullshit. You've been playing Pokemon.
Not recently.
Not recently?
Yeah, not recently.
What constitutes as recently to you?
Within
Within
the last
week.
month.
Okay.
For
The
me.
week.
I haven't played it in a while.
What about you, Caleb?
The game that I'm playing, well, I'm playing a few games right now, but the game that I'm playing on my 2DS right now is a game called Fire Emblem Awakening. It's a pretty good game. It has a good story and everything. It's just that it surprised me a little when it became really romancy, because I don't know how to describe it, because in the game you get these characters and there's also these female characters, and if you pair them up for long enough in battles, they kind of get a relationship level, and when it gets high enough, they get married.
Really?
Yes, and it involves a time kind of plot, so their children come back from the future
Okay.
and meet their parents.
Are you certain it's like it's based upon what you do in the game and not just predetermined?
Some of the pairings are predetermined,
Okay.
but the outcome for some of the things is different. Like if you have it doesn't really matter.
When did this game come out?
It just barely came out like a few
okay.
months ago. Like I don't remember when it came out exactly, but yeah, it's been kind of a weird thing to me, because like the first bit of the game was getting through it and it was really awesome, and then all of a sudden, like, I meet my own kid, because like the character that you have in the game is just like an avatar that you can make look like whatever, you know?
Okay.
And it's basically me. And then all of a sudden I go to this area and then it's like my kid and I'm like, what the shit?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And that's on the DS?
It's on the 3DS.
Because I haven't seen you play a console game in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't played a console game in a while. I've just been playing on my PC and on the DS.
You've been playing a lot of Battlefield, right, though?
Yeah, we've been playing Battlefield, been playing some League of Legends,
yeah.
been playing a lot of things.
A lot of things, yeah. So I got Battlefield 4 for the first time because Kaleb Schweiss here bought it for me so that I'd play with him.
Yeah,
And I've played the first chapter of the game, I think, or level.
Yeah.
And that was really awesome. Really good. Then I played the multiplayer, and I am getting my ass handed to me.
Oh yeah,
constantly.
that's the only thing that happens in that game.
I know I'm really late on this one with the Battlefield 4, but it's so fucking tough. I mean, it's not like Call of Duty, because I understand there's a certain smoothness with Call of Duty that isn't there with Battlefield 4.
Yeah, I actually prefer
quick,
Call of Duty
the speed
in some ways.
of a Call of Duty game is a lot quicker, but the map, the hugeness of Battlefield 4 is pretty awesome though. Like the giant expanse is awesome in one way, not awesome as terms of like I can't see anyone for 20 minutes and then I get sniped. I'm like, where the fuck?
I love sniping in Battlefield 4. It's like my favorite thing. It's the only thing that I do in that game, because
that's
now
a tough thing to do.
With like it tells you like your longest headshot and your stats and stuff. And right now,
so
I
you're getting obsessed with the stats.
I only for the longest headshot, because now I have one like my was one of my first ones, and I got a ridiculous one. It was like 659.92 meters.
Okay.
And
what's your record on that choice?
his is like
860 or something like that.
yeah, and so
It
I
was
want to at
ridiculous.
least get mine in the 700s, and so I'm just like trying to level up my snipers to get a
Nice.
bigger scope, so I can just zoom in from.
Oh, you get bigger
away.
scopes when you level
Yeah,
up?
there's
Oh
one
my
that's like
God.
a times 40 zoom.
So this is one of those games where the more you play it, the better equipment you get than the other players in the game.
not
So you
necessarily.
just fuck everyone over.
I don't like the 40 times scope. I think it's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I like medium to long range sniping where it's
Is
about
there bullet
4.
drop in that game?
Yeah.
There is bullet drop, which
It's
is
annoying.
what makes
That must be why I miss all the time.
You gotta get used to it.
it's one of the it's a sweet part of the sniping because that's how I got a kill is because my bullet curved just right into this guy's face and I was yes.
Yeah, it is one of those games that I bought it because I knew I was gonna play it eventually, but I knew that if I didn't get it immediately that I was gonna be behind. At least with some upgrades. Like the weapons you get are better.
Yeah.
The scopes, they're whatever. Once you get the straight pull, because with the straight pull, when you pull another bullet into the chamber, you don't have to go out of the scope. So that helps a lot. So with your sniper, you don't have that yet. So when you shoot, it like zooms out, and then you do that, and then you go back in. But with mine, I can just endlessly sit there and snipe.
Nice.
So I can be super inaccurate.
Oh, the thing I hate about that game, not the game itself, but the game screen. Like you have to go to that website in order to play the game.
Always being online. I don't like that either. They
That's
did
an
that
EA
with
thing.
it is an EA thing. They did
Why
that.
do they do?
I don't know, but they did it with SimCity also, and they just barely added ability to be offline in SimCity like a few months back.
Yeah, single player, even for both of them. You have to
It's
be
like if
online.
our internet goes, that just sucks ass.
Yeah,
can't
you
play.
wouldn't be able to play
I
it.
was mad when they announced that Diablo 3 was like all online. I was like, no.
Well, that's
Yeah.
there's a single player.
There is a single
It's the
player
same as the
mode.
multiplayer.
You still have to be online.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah,
It is
it's
pretty
dumb.
dumb.
I have no idea why you would need that.
I don't know. I mean, the stats, it makes the stats cool, because with Battlefield, you can see how many points you get for each mission, kind of thing, and then you can see how you rank up against your friends.
They'd be able to track that.
You should be
if you
able
just-
to.
If you
log
just
on-
had a regular game and then like synced with
Yeah,
the
or you
system.
logged on every once in a while.
It's
Yeah.
like every other fucking game that came before it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of.
I don't understand the reasoning behind that, and I just find it really annoying. That site is really slow and chunky and crappy. And
Yeah, I don't mind it.
I hate it.
I think computer probably just...
I hate it
yeah,
like
that
it's like
sucks.
no other motherfucker.
Yeah.
Is
I
that
don't. I don't really like that you can't really do private matches in Battlefield 4. Because the only way you'd be able to do that is by owning a server, and
Or if you went into
That's-
one that was empty and it stayed empty.
which
That's the
doesn't
issue.
really happen. So
Well, I never join a server when I see two people. That's gonna be a boring fucking two people on
They're
a
just trying
giant
to snipe
map.
each other.
Yeah.
Well, you can always like when you have a server with less people, it makes it a smaller game.
I feel
No,
like
you
ye
choose
old
that.
good old days of like Halo 1 on the PC. So nice.
Halo 1 on the PC was awesome.
Like the matching up at the very beginning was really simple. Battlefield, like the games, the games now are just so complex. And
Yeah.
I don't know, they're less fun to me with the giant amount of people and things and the bullet drop and I don't know. It's less fun of a game to me, even though I guess it's more realistic. Although certain situations in that game, like that's not.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
not
I
realistic.
did see a video where a guy had an enemy jet fly under his jet, and he jumped out of the jet, shot a rocket at that jet, blew that jet up, and then got back in his jet. So I can't say that it's more realistic than Call of Duty because that doesn't happen.
No,
Call of Duty is bullshit, and so is Battlefield.
they're all
Battlefield
bullshit.
just has a bullet drop, which is really
And they both have bullshit knives.
yeah. Caleb can't knife in Battlefield 4.
I
can't-
can. It's just
I
ridiculous.
can't either.
Have you?
The control setup on my keyboard is just bullshit. I really need a controller. I'm so used to playing shooters on a controller that I used to play shooters just only on the PC.
Yeah.
And then like now it's like I'm so used to Halo and Call of Duty on the controllers.
Yeah.
That playing Battlefield 4 on the PC is just like, ugh.
It's tough.
It's rough. It's rough, and there's so many like options. It's like, can I just have the forward back keys and then just like a grenade on one side and shoot on the other, and then maybe the mouse scroll to switch through the weapons, which is what it is.
Yeah.
And then that would be it, because that was it for Halo, basically. I think there was crouch and a zoom in button. I think that might have been it.
Yeah.
Such the simple days of 2004.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Doom's even more simple. It's just walking around and shooting.
Yeah, it's all one path.
If you have the key card, then the door opens.
If he's on your screen, you're gonna shoot him.
Yeah. Oh man. What else have you been playing, Schweiss? Besides Battlefield and LoL.
I've been playing a little bit of Bioshock 1.
Bioshock 1.
Yeah,
You never played that game when it came out? Oh, you played it? Did you beat it? Oh.
Many years ago.
Oh.
That's a really good game.
Yeah.
That's classic.
I didn't beat it right when it came out.
I wouldn't call it classic. You gotta give... Okay, here's the fucking problem with video game shit, is that it's such a new medium. It's even newer than film. You have to give shit time before you call them classics.
How much time? Is there
20 years.
There's a math?
20 years.
Science to this?
20 years. Yes, there is a math and science to this. Because if someone goes right now, Guardians of the Galaxy, 3 months from now, I'm going to hear some stupid-ass douchebag call it a classic. And I'm like, you don't know that. You don't know that. It could actually be a crappy film, and we don't realize it until 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps video game
It could
time
become
is different from
it
film.
could become a very dated thing. No, I don't think it is different. It's not any different. They're all the same thing. You say the same thing about music. 20 years from now, if we all recognize the song and we all still love the song, it's good. But if it's a piece of shit song that we all were very popular of, like we all loved it when it came out, those happen and those things go away. They disperse with time. Now, I think Bioshock will probably be one of those games that'll stay with time, and it will probably be a classic. So I agree with you on that. Mm-hmm. However, the distinction of classic means you need the distinction of time. You need time before you call something classic.
7 years
The problem with video games is that, say they were popularized in the 80s, right? They got big in the 80s, were invented in the 60s, and now they're reaching a peak now that they're huge, right?
Yeah.
And that peak could go down, it could go up from here. Who knows? You can look at old games and say, that wasn't that good.
Okay, so
I do.
in my opinion, I believe Bioshock is a classic.
I disagree. I don't
That's
think it's
fine.
I don't think it's a classic
That's
yet.
fine.
I think you need a 20-year space before something.
I think that's subjective.
I think everybody in 1997 thought Titanic was a classic. Would you call Titanic a classic now?
I would.
You would call Titanic a huge movie, but I think Titanic has aged badly.
I think it's
I
overrated.
have not seen it recently. So.
Okay, if you watch it now, it's aged
Yeah.
quite a bit.
And that's why I
The
always
special
give it
effects.
shit.
Very 90s. It's not necessarily the special effects, because you watch old movies with less sophisticated special effects, and they're still good.
Yeah, plus we have...
And Titanic still has generally good special effects. There's a couple shots that look a little crappy, but Titanic also had like special effects that weren't just CG.
Yeah.
So those type of scenes with like the giant mechanical sets, those effects are amazing still. But I don't know, like the love story is really cheesy now. It wasn't as cheesy, or we didn't see it as cheesy back then. It's very 90s.
Yeah.
It's a very 90s film.
Which is an
It
insult.
dates it. When you date something, it's kind of
Makes it bad.
it makes it age bad.
Yeah.
That's why I think okay, I'm going off on a tangent here. I think that shit with like electronic soundtracks, they always age the worst. If you have something with a classical score with a symphony, symphonies tend to not age as badly. I mean, we can hear like a 1940s movie soundtrack, and it'll be like, oh, that's old, right? But if you hear something from like the 70s, maybe even 60s, it doesn't sound that old.
Yeah.
It
'cause
doesn't.
it's
It doesn't
still-
age as bad. However, if you hear the doot 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 from Terminator 1, it's aged so bad. It sounds so crummy.
Right. I see what you're saying.
And so I think you got to give at least 20 years. You got to give it at least a generation and the reason I say that is if some kid now, some young kid now can reference a movie that they've never seen or a game that they've never played, and it's 20 years old, then it's classic because it's in the zeitgeist of the population, as opposed to
Pop culture.
it's in pop culture and it's still there. So it is classic. Whether, even though something that may have been immensely popular, not a classic anymore.
Yeah, it's a
Do you
fantastic
get what I'm saying?
game, though.
Yeah, I get it, but I don't agree with it.
Dylan's putting it into more of a, not really using the definition of the word, but he's just calling it what it is. It's a great game.
A great game that
It's one that he looks back on.
I think it could be a classic.
Who knows? It could age like shit.
It could age like shit.
It most likely will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly,
video
thinking
games
about
are
the
even
mechanics,
worse about aging than anything
especially
else.
first-person shooters. They look like shit.
So then, in your definition of that, then Super Mario Brothers is classic. That has dated technology.
Super Mario Bros. Is a classic.
So is
That
Final
definitely-
Fantasy 1. Doesn't make it a good game.
You're gonna get a shit.
I don't care.
I'm telling you, man. When these shows get even bigger, because like we
I'm saying it
gain
doesn't-
audience every month, and then you say something like that, they're gonna go back and be like, "This guy sucks."
I didn't say it's not a bad game. I didn't say it's a bad game. I said that just because it's a classic doesn't mean it's really good.
Right.
It just means it's still playable. It's still.
I wouldn't call that.
Okay. I thought you were gonna say.
I would call.
I would say it becomes
It's
a
still-
classic when you still have fun playing it.
It's still relatable to our culture now, even though it's been now for 20 years. That's what it's.
BioShock is generation past.
Well, for
Generations
gaming.
20 years.
He's talking about a next gen.
I'm talking
console.
about
I'm
a
talking about
human
console
generation years, not console generation.
No, guys, we go by console.
No, we
This is a
don't.
video game show.
I understand that this is a video game show. I'm telling you, though, when you're using the word classic, this is just between me and you. When you're using the word classic, I think you need 20 years.
All right. So anyway, what else? This has gone on far too long.
I don't think so. I was having fun.
Yeah. I'm sure the listeners.
Okay. I'm sure the listeners
They're
will be like,
asleep now.
BioShock's a classic.
Yeah.
And I still go...
Oh, and then you can say I'm a dick for calling Final Fantasy 1. Who the fuck has played Final Fantasy 1 out there? Not that many people. A lot of people. No, a lot of the Final Fantasy fans like 7 and up. I would say a good chunk of them.
Right.
That's all they know. They love Final Fantasy, but they're not going to play the first
I think
six.
the first game sold 1.5 million units over here.
Yeah, back then.
Yeah, back then.
Right, but
even
none of
more
that-
people by now.
No, I doubt that.
That's a shitload of people.
I doubt that. I think it's one of those ones that not that many people play.
In comparison to the later games,
Yeah, in
yes,
comparison,
but
especially in
there's still a
comparison.
lot of people who played them.
Well, I'm sure
I
there
would
is.
call 1.5 million people quite a few.
Yeah.
Plus the Dawn of Souls sales and the Final Fantasy Origin sales. There's probably like 3 million people that have played that game.
Right. And
Maybe not finished it.
No. But
We
see,
finished it.
well, we had to cheat. We use a guide. We
We
were
gotta use
guided
Nice.
by the.
Hand.
We needed it. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was hand holding basically. But
No, you call the original Zelda a classic.
yeah.
Some people have listed it as the best game ever, and I really would not agree with that.
for
The original
Zelda.
Zelda?
Yeah.
It's influence. That's
In-
another thing that
influence-
classic has
Yeah,
to
that's
it.
true.
It has
BioShock.
influence.
Influence
I'm
alone
sure Bioshock is
shouldn't be a determining thing because
It should be
the original
influence
Legend of
and
Zelda
age, and
is
you can never
fun
see
to a
influence
point,
until after.
but it's mostly frustrating.
Yeah.
And a game that is really, really fun and good, and you just enjoy it overall for a long time, I think it's a better game than something that has influence.
That's true. That's what we're talking about with classic. That's what I think makes it a classic is that like when we watch The Godfather,
Still fucking
we're
amazing.
what are we
Yeah.
like 20s in our 20s? We
Yeah.
still love it. It came out before we were alive. It's
Right.
still a good movie. Because
Right.
it's a good movie. It's
Right.
not like Transformers where everyone's like,
like
blowing
City
it.
Lights from Charlie Chaplin. In
Yeah.
the 20s, silent, fantastic.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's what makes it classic.
Exactly.
takes time.
I think it does.
Just
it
like
takes
Boondocks.
time.
Look at
It-
Boondock
it's not
Saints. Everyone hated it when it came out, and I think it's excellent.
And only half the people hate it now.
Yeah, only half the people. That is a huge improvement.
Well, when you're looking at like Citizen Kane was like totally like all the Hollywood people wouldn't even like look at it, and then 20 years later it showed up on a top film list of all time kind
Yeah.
of thing right at the top.
And now
And
it's like-
oh, now Citizen Kane is like the movie that we all recognize as if not the greatest, one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah.
I only
Just because-
recognize Seven
because of
Samurai
its
as the greatest.
Influence, not necessarily its entertainment value. So when we're looking at games, we're going, this is fun, but we also have to look at the artistry and the entertainment value, and then what it spawned, not just entertainment.
Yeah. Although the purpose of video games.
Even though, yes, the purpose of video games is entertainment, and so is the purpose of film, and so is the purpose of music, and so is the purpose of painting.
Yeah.
It's all that kind of shit. I mean, I'm sure there's fantastic fucking paintings, but do we look at them as classics later on? No, we look at certain paintings that have influenced
Art as a
generations, right?
Yeah.
So when you're saying BioShock, I mean, I love BioShock. I think it's great. I think time will tell on BioShock.
I think it's pretty influential as far as story goes now.
Yeah.
It is a story-heavy game.
I feel like Half-Life 1 probably has more influence than BioShock did.
Well, yeah, look at Half-Life's
'Cause-
Halo.
The Half-Life with the going around and you're in this interactive environment and the story's going on around you and yet you can move around. It's not necessarily cutscene-y. And then the kind of the puzzle-like aspect of the shooter game. I think BioShock owes a lot to the first Half-Life game. And I think that one is probably going to be more of the one that we look at in the future than
As far
BioShock.
as story goes, I'm meaning story when I talk about BioShock.
BioShock story is better than Half-Life's.
No, I agree. I'm not saying.
Half-Life is fantastic.
I think that's what really makes it stand out.
I'm saying time will tell. It's a good story. I agree. I love that game. I give it 10 out of 10 stars. Definitely. You played anything else besides Battlefield and well?
And
BioShock?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I've got a game.
We gotta play 6, don't we? Final Fantasy 6. We gotta start that today.
Yeah,
Today.
Hey,
So,
when did 6 come out?
when Final Fantasy 6 come out, I wouldn't call 6 a classic by now.
It's 20 years old though.
Is it 20 years old?
It
I
is.
didn't know when it came out, so that's why I'm not calling it a classic.
So now you're putting a pure time definition.
No, I'm not saying a pure time definition,
Well, he
because
had
I wouldn't call
before.
Final Fantasy V a classic.
It's true.
And it's older.
The best one that's fine.
Out of the 5 that we've played in a row, yeah.
Yeah.
6 is... By the way. Any gamer out there listening, Final Fantasy 6 is fucking awesome. Well, I have played Final Fantasy 4 recently,
Yeah.
and so did you. Or Final Fantasy 5 and 4. I don't know why 4 came up first in my head. We just talked about 5. We played Final Fantasy 5. We just beat it like, what,
'cause you view
a
it
week and a
as
half ago,
superior.
2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago?
About 2 weeks. Yeah.
And then, now we gotta start Final Fantasy 6, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. So that's probably what we're gonna be talking about on these posts. I mean, assuming this is a pilot episode, so if this actually gets released, we released this way later than we recorded it because this was a demo. Because we wanted to see how the show would sound, so.
Right.
Alright, guys. Anything else to say as far as gaming goes?
I don't think so. It's awesome.
Okay.
It's awesome.
All right, well, thank you for listening to Nude Clan, video game show where we talk about the naked truth or the naked opinions about gaming.
Opinions of movies.
I am Joe.
I'm Caleb.
Dylan.
And Caleb.
Thanks for listening.